laughing at me already.
No, I'm not. I saw your signs and that's very nice, but
Thank you.
we were over there Saturday evening.
That's Seward.
Good color.
Hmm?
Good color.
Yeah, I like it too, it's different. Jake's fiance picked it up.
Good color.
Okay, well, what do we got going on?
I haven't think of much of
Not much
anything today.
anything so far.
I don't have anything really formal. I mean, I wanted to make sure that if we used that room, it was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that you had a meeting the night that we were coming back from Atwood. Is there anything from that that I need to discuss with you? And then we can.
You know, there's about 6 things I want to talk to you about, and I can't remember any of them. From that meeting, yeah, what we discussed, Carolyn, was well, first of all, I was telling these guys, Barton County's having some issues. They're not wanting not to be involved, but if it's a formal organization, they're having issues with that. We're gonna keep it informal for a while. We've tried to, we've invited a couple of politicians to come and visit with us, and no luck, I'm assuming.
Not yet.
Politicians meaning commissioners or?
Senator and interim
Okay,
senator.
okay.
Where we're at, what we did was basically we prioritized our agenda a little bit, and number one on everybody's issue is the oil.
So the
The
energy
payment.
on this is really kind of more focused on policy.
Our emphasis is,
Advocacy.
what we do is taxes, you know. Now, your counterpart from Pawnee County, he was trying to focus this on economic development and turn us into an economic development organization, which we are not. And that was pointed out that, you know, housing and stuff like that is not that we're not a part of that, but that is not our issue or our priority. But taxes, taxation, that is. And so it was the oil that was everybody's main concern. And the next step is, you know, where do we go from here? How do we bring this to Topeka's attention, and what do we do? You know, we're all sitting here going, this is impossible, we can't do this, but they want to try, I want to try, we want to try. And it's going to take everybody's effort. I mean, you know, your end of it, my end of it, so we're open for suggestions.
But what I'm hearing is that that's taking more of the I don't know, the policy track. In the areas that you guys.
Their number one thing was the
Makes
oil.
sense.
Yeah.
There may also be, you know, like you said, economic development is a little different, and we have, at a staff level, continued to talk, so, that may be kind of two separate things,
you know,
if we can find some things that we can.
We are separate, but we have common grounds, and we need each other to work for these common grounds. What I was thinking, you know, we discussed, of course, the head tax thing. And everybody's like, oh, the KLA and all these organizations, Farm Bureau's gonna be against anything like that. I really don't know that they would. We're not taxing the feedlots per se. But we, you know, it's just like the $1 a head tax for the advertising. And that's, you know, I think that I would love to discuss this with some cattle people and get their opinions and get some feedback from them. I'd love to have some Farm Bureau people come in and discuss some of these issues like that with them and get some input from them. And we have the other commissioners listen to their point of view, you know, not just my point of view or these guys' point of view, but get it from their perspective. And let us, you know, give them our perspective and see what happens. And that, I see you guys being involved in that. And probably then, wind is something that we have a common ground. Wind is something that isn't Topeka, it's us. And everything we're learning, you know, nobody's gonna come here. I think probably our next step there is to see what we can do about working together. Maybe we've got to build our own transmission line type thing. Let's explore that possibility a little bit. See what we can do as a group of counties. Maybe we can form a LLC or something and build a line to Spearville or wherever they want to put their little transmission station. But I think we would get a fair amount of cooperation, and of course that's where you guys would really come in.
That's right, that's more along the lines of what I'm
Exactly.
talking with my counterparts about,
And we're very much, that's very much part of our discussions. It's political season, and of course the politics and the taxes are, and that's what county commissioners do, that's what they deal with. But the other part of it is something we very much are involved in.
okay,
And need to work together. So that's where we really could use you guys working together. You guys can work together, bring it to us.
that's what I
And say,
view
this
as
is-
kind of the logical progression.
This is the
Yeah.
ideas that we've come up with, and then we can, and as a group that way. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot that, another thing I want you to, well, I've got you here, I was down at Maxville City Council meeting. And I don't know how public any of this stuff is, Clayton, as far as your, what's going on in Stafford with your little variety store.
Mhm.
Is that still pretty confidential, or?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I can talk about it openly
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Okay, well, what we discussed, and I didn't get a whole lot of feedback, but maybe tailing onto that somehow. At the very least, learning how they're doing it, seeing if there's any possibilities in the Maxville area for something like that, or some other retail. May not be a variety store, maybe they prefer a grocery store. I just presented some ideas to them. I'm gonna visit with Ned and see if we can get him to get more of a community feel. I mean, you and I both need input from the community, and that's what he's there for.
Someone that wants to really take that on.
But I mentioned, that I said it's gonna take a group of people like what you guys have. They have no organizations like that, like Main Street or Chamber of Commerce or anything to do that kind of stuff that I'm aware of. Is there? And the comment I got was, there's always a few people that are always volunteering to do everything, and they do all the work and they get tired and burn out. And I know that's exactly right. It says when I mention volunteer work and that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, Jesus, not another one. So it's gonna take, but I told them, I said, if you wanna have this, I think it's doable. It just takes the community to support it. And presented some ideas, and I said, I don't know the details on, there's more than one way of doing this. There's, you have little co-ops, there's all kinds of approaches. Somebody needs to present some of these to them in a formal manner and say, this is.
I seen out west, I was reading an article about the grocery store. They lost their grocery store out there, and all the citizens, they invested, bought stock, they sold stock, and they started up a grocery store, and they say very successful now, they're running good. And of course, the people put the money into it, so
Right.
they are trading there at the store too. Of course, it's their store now.
You can call it a co-op, you can call it an investment, you can call it, there's all kinds of words for it, but it's just like
But it's working real well, they said. You probably read that too.
Well, I don't know about necessarily, I don't know if I know exactly the grocery
It's
store you're talking about, but there's
Mineola.
variations of that. There's a dress shop in Larned that was patterned off of one in Russell.
Exactly. I
They
mentioned
bought
that.
in, their version of it involved, the payment that you put up front builds in a discount as you, I'd have to go back and exactly figure out how that's structured, but basically, the money that you put in up front can be recouped in your purchases over time. It's a way for them to build in people buying things, and the revenue not only to, so it's not just something where people put in money to get it started,
Right,
but that they're actually,
they get a
they've
discount
got
when they buy
an incentive
something.
to continue
And
patronizing
then
the
it's
place
like
as
you
time
said,
goes
their
on.
own.
Yeah, I think this was just like a corporation type thing, and they just bought stock in the corporation. They had
Yeah, that was Mineola.
many old Westerners, I think.
Well, we see it, the theaters, the theater in Larned, the one in Stafford, restaurant in Alden, years ago they did that, the community got together to keep their restaurant open, there's all kinds of examples. I think the possibility exists over there, I don't even know exactly what they want, they may want a grocery store, they may want a variety store, that, you know. I mean, I don't think they've even thought about it, I don't think they even thought that they could do something like that. But I can't see why that isn't a possibility. Especially since we have this activity going on and we can learn directly from what's going on there. And maybe even shirt tail into it, maybe, you know,
Supplier kind of thing.
same supplier.
Well, it's the same thing we experienced at Atwood. It wasn't just a select group of people that started up, you know, whatever business venture, it was the
Right.
whole community got behind it.
And I think that's the main point. You get as many people in the community as possible. And then, yeah, then they have a motive to trade there. So, yeah, I think we're gonna need your help in that regard, and I think there's interest, I think they just don't even know they're interested yet. But if you would visit with Ned about it a little bit, and I'm gonna try and talk to him today if I can, and tell him what we talked about. But as far as our group of commissioners, you know, the wind is something you can work with us directly on right now. And let's explore those possibilities. No, it's obvious nobody's gonna come to us and say, hey, we're gonna build a transmission line to you. But, you know, you were involved in the discussions with Midwest Energy, and, you know, their hypocrisy has not left me. In fact, I just followed a big blade on the way here. They're going both directions right by us. It's just driving me crazy. And you know, Midwest says, well, we don't like windmills, and yet they invest, and they won't invest in transmission lines, and yet they just did. And so I think that these guys telling us no was just not necessarily no. I won't accept it. But we're gonna have to work together to encourage them. All the counties in their trade area say, hey, you know, you guys better wake up. Why? Maybe we'll have some influence. And we don't have to go to Topeka for that. You know. We can do that here. That's the good part.
Although, with the tax credit expiring at the end of the year, that's gonna probably put a damper on, unless it gets renewed.
But explain that tax credit to me. Which one was it?
It's a federal tax credit
That was the
per
federal one?
kilowatt.
And the state, does the state have a deal as well?
So, but I could be mistaken on that.
Well, the tax credit was just one of those, there was a situation where if you were making money,
It's a big part of what's considered the payback, you know, the payback on it.
so these companies were building these windmills and making money somewhere else and using that tax credit to help them on their taxes. Is that basically what that means? Or they were selling the credits?
Oh, no.
Kind of like what you did?
No, it's not selling tax credits. It is a matter of reducing your income tax liability, your federal income tax liability.
So like KP&L or somebody, or whatever they're called now, they're making money other places, so this helped to offset that. That was a motive, big part of their motive for doing it. And that's what made them profitable.
Well, I don't, right, I think that's what made them, I don't know,
Made it
working-
feasible.
made it feasible,
And
right?
and that credit is gone.
It expires at the end of this year, so there's probably not even enough time. In fact, I've talked with one company here in Stafford County that was interested in putting in a windmill, and still would keep that option open if that tax credit gets renewed. But they don't have enough time to even erect a tower this year to get it going,
Mhm.
to, you know, it wouldn't qualify, so they're holding off.
Well, and that's the other thing that, you know, we would work on was the disengaged, I guess it's called, wind power. We just have an individual and a privately owned. You haven't had much luck with that either, huh?
Well, this one company would be making a fairly major investment if that
The
were to
state
happen.
still has the property tax abatement in place, correct?
Yeah. Right. as far as like schools go, there was concern that the provision that would allow a third-party investor to pass through the tax credit, or pass through the benefit to the school, was not clear enough in legislation to make it completely sure that it was going to work. So they looked for legislative clarification, which didn't happen in the legislative sessions that we've had the last 2 years. So.
And so
that's
now
kinda
the tax credit's gone, and so it's not gonna be matter anyhow. I wonder why the government did that. This is the federal government.
Well, yeah. It's just, it's a tax credit that had a specific expiration date unless it was renewed.
And they
it
did
hasn't been
not.
renewed yet.
I see.
I think there's been lapses in the history of it too, and it eventually does, but
Bad fight.
right now, they don't, people hold off on investing until that tax credit actually gets renewed.
Okay. Well, those are some of the things on my mind. I don't think that's all of them, but.
Okay. Like I said, I've got some meetings coming up, is some, things kind of develop from that you need to be eyes on. I'll
Okay.
keep you interested in that.
But as far as the, housing and stuff, it was pointed out at our meeting. It's just really not our department, not that we wouldn't, support programs or encourage it, it's just not what county commissioners do.
Right, right.
Understanding that's a big part of economic development. And
We even got that out of Atwood, and, people sometimes think government is the leader, and yet government has a very specific role of what it does. It keeps, the infrastructure going and all that kind of stuff. As far as like a lot of the improvements, quality of life wise, even business wise, it really comes down to somebody taking initiative to do that outside of government. That's what I took from that. Is that something any different?
And the new banking regulations are making it more difficult to get homeowner loans, and it's a frustrating situation. But I think then they say something about maybe some private investors were going to get together and do some speculation on housing. And you see it in the larger cities. It's builders who are speculating on homes, but fortunately, like Wichita and places, there's high demand. So, but I don't know. I was not aware of all the new banking regulations since the government bailout. I thought it was still a normal process, but apparently it isn't. And this one guy was ready to close on a fairly reasonable, well, not reasonable, but a more than average priced home. And all of his credit and everything was approved, but it got down to the final day of closing and something was omitted, or so they had to start all over again. And they're living I don't know how many miles away from his work, and but I can't see how cities or counties can get involved in housing.
which was exactly the
Yeah.
point of the meeting. What's the guy's name from Pawnee County?
Cortland.
Coleman. Yeah, that's all he could talk about.
Well, if it were like LMI type housing, there probably is, the government can own it and so forth. Not that I'm advocating that, but I don't think that's necessarily what I hear is the strongest need. We're going through a formal housing assessment right now, kind of set things up to do a lot of surveying and so forth, and have the formalized report that will hopefully set the stage for either getting some grant funding or even the idea of luring some private investment. They see that the assessment in place, they may be more comfortable with making that investment. But my gut before that's even done is that there's a stronger need for just not LMI, but the kind of thing that a family making, $70,000, a couple of teachers, that kind of stuff. Not LMI, but not maybe, you know, I don't know, not $300,000 homes either, you know.
Middle income, true middle income.
Mhm.
Right.
That's where the big need is right now that I can see in this county. And I think everybody else is about the same thing.
Okay, let's Thank you.
Well, as soon as we hear any more, I've got a lot of phone calls, haven't been returned yet, so maybe this week we'll,
Phone calls.
from politicians, Kansas Counties Association, executive director said he would come out, although he hasn't made my call back, and so I'm waiting on him.
We'll let you know if he's,
Randall Allen.
Randall Allen, yeah.
He's Kansas Association of Counties.
We've invited him to come to one of our meetings.
Because we need to have more people that are more involved in what the peak is doing, what.
I'm really thinking if we can get Randall out there, it'd be nice to have somebody, the representative from the Farm Bureau there, for example. And maybe, do you think we could get somebody from KLA? How involved is Brian in that, is he?
Not at all.
I don't know. I'm not either, I don't know anybody. Do you know anybody?
He might be more plugged in with who is. You know,
Well, I
involved around here, but
really
don't-
think Farm Bureau might be our best. I mean, I don't want to get too many people, we don't want to get too many subjects, especially at a specific meeting, but definitely would like to hear some other perspectives. So, and we'll get this meeting put together, and let you know. So, there's no reason why you can't be there, shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Then you can talk
Okay.
to Portland, so I don't. I like the man, it's just, he's got a lot to talk about. You just need somebody to listen. Well, Lisa, do you have anything?
No.
Let's recess.
Has to offer a couple words for his hour increase. Mike Schwing, exercise. Paper?
But from your.
Oh, it's
It's his Doppler.
It's his Doppler.
Doppler reading.
What? What is it?
I don't know.
it's a tag off your glasses.
Man, that's caused me a lot of grief this morning, I'll tell you what. You guys
Hey,
notice the darndest things.
If you'd have to, cheap glasses or expensive glasses don't come with that on.
I wouldn't know.
I'll make the
That
motion.
is also the price of the glasses. It's the power and the price, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Thank you. I'll make a motion, we approve Dave Sizemore increase from range 6, step 4 to range 6, step 5. And Mike Schwain from 6.4 to 6.5.
I second motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the rate increases, the wage increases for Mike Swain and David Sizemore. All in favor, say aye.
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 And we will start
Motion
some
carries.
late session this week, so,
Where?
we'll start down Emerson Road, move to Stafford Element Road. Eventually work our way down into
Seward Road, right?
I already got one phone call this morning about that, so.
Oh, what's the matter? They're
East
not
End
happy?
Hudson, we re-rocked East End Hudson Road again.
Oh.
It was so rough.
Well, we're using low tankers.
A little short stretch, or you mean, a little short stretch that goes over.
That 2 miles, yeah.
Can't hold the whole truck going there,
Yeah.
I think, like that.
Yeah, I understand her frustration. I said, well, honestly, I'm about as frustrated with it as you are. I mean, I understand the dust, but I said, I don't know what else to use. I said, we tried to put some magnesium chloride on it, and I said, you know, that worked real well for about a month. Well, you could put some more, and I said, well, a month at $1 and a nickel a gallon, it doesn't pencil out very well.
And a gallon covers how much?
For the point of BUA, you put half a gallon per square yard, so 3 by 3.
So you're using the crushed limestone?
And it does, it makes a fog, but I told her I would look into it. I
What
would talk
about
to
a
someone.
concrete pile? Is that any better? Does the same thing probably.
Maybe slow the trucks down, put bigger humps out there.
The truck.
Well, the trouble
Yes,
is,
me.
and I talked to them, we talked about this, they said, well, if they just slow down, I said, well, we could probably change the speed limit up there, but I says, people aren't gonna slow down. I mean, if you set an officer up there,
But you got speed limit on that, don't you?
huh?
You got a sign for speed limit on that, don't you?
Well, no, it's regular 55 mile an hour.
Oh, I thought you had a sign for,
I think we
There
put
was
slow signs up.
slow,
there.
had slow signs.
We slow signs, but people don't.
Oh, okay.
People don't have much consideration for other people's basically what they come out to.
Well, yeah, there's that, but these guys are, they're working and they're trying to get as many loads as they can.
Yeah, but the NCR, well, it's hard on trucks. The NCRA guys will drive 20, 30 mile an hour down the road. Well, you're only going a mile. What is the point of going 60 mile an hour in a mile?
I agree. By the time you get up to speed, you're
I
shutting
mean,
it down.
what are you talking about, a minute?
North Seward got a bunch of crushed brick from Great Bend once. And that actually, if they crushed it small, did a good job of crushing it, made a really good road for quite a while.
Yeah.
But they don't have that all the time either.
No.
And they have a lot of trouble with a lot of them didn't get crushed and they had to have bricks.
Big
And
brick.
boy, they're hard on tires, but if
Yeah.
they crushed it right, it made a really nice road.
So I told her I would call around and visit with some other counties.
You know, the chaff that the railroads used to use, where do they get that?
That's a ballast type rock. It's a harder rock.
That's great stuff.
Yeah. But you pay for it.
Can you
It
even
probably
get it?
comes from Iola or Neodesha or no.
No, down there around
Yeah,
Cherry
it's,
Hill,
yeah.
down. It's a harder type.
And it doesn't powder up, does
It's
it?
truly an aggregate. It's just,
Yeah. But then you see, you gotta have fines to blend this stuff together, hold it together. And then you have some moisture to hold all this together. Well,
We're working on that. It's just,
does Pryor County have their own road sand pit?
they have a dry pit. They produce their material from. It's off over to the east, northeast. They have a couple different ones.
Because I noticed they have some that have rock in it.
It's got a little more rock in it than we do with ours. The stuff out here in Mansell's is just so fine that you can put it on a road. If you get a 35 mile an hour wind, it'll blow it off. So that's why we usually, when we gravel the road, we'll go by road gravel from our pits. Even our seamless thing, when we try to put it on one of the roads that we drag, it doesn't work very well because it's too
Too
fine.
fine.
What do you use this for then?
What, the sand we've gotten here lately?
No, what, do you produce your own out here?
The sand out here, yes, the sand out here is what we make our mix out of.
I see. 'Cause there's a lot of, I'm asking that because the comment was that they drive those trucks up to Seward every day and they're empty. Why don't they bring a load of rock or gravel with them when they do that?
Because just most of the sand that they're talking about would be cut out of the pit out of, well, we bought some from, we bought out of Elmwood, we bought out of, they call it Park River sand out of, it's between Dundee and Pawnee Rock.
That Ed Crosby's deal?
That's Lance Crosby, yeah, Lance and Jason.
Well, yeah, Crosby.
That's who bought it, it used to be Two-Tack. Kent.
Yeah, okay. He's not involved in it anymore?
Not the sand pit, he owns the ground.
I see. So the stuff that we have out here just isn't what?
It wouldn't make a good seal sand, no, it's way too fine.
I see.
Well, this state will use, it's a man-made product, and it makes a nice looking seal, but it comes down to cost-wise.
And yeah, you can't hardly get asphalt anymore. They used to almost give you that, didn't they? Now
I mean-
they recycle that, I assume, what they're taking off of 281. Where is that going?
A lot of times they'll have part of it, like 10% sometimes has to go back into the mix. That's a recycle deal the state has, or wants them to do. And then a lot of times it'll be the contractors when they're done. And they'll get $10 to $12 a ton out of it when they go sell them.
They could just scoop it off 281 and put it right on the road while they're there. Just spread it out.
And eventually it becomes, yeah, and then you gotta have something to spray on top of it to hold it back together.
You always have problems, I say. I got all these good ideas and you just come up with negative, negative, negative.
Well,
I
part
swear.
of it is because we've been there, done that. Yeah, it's a great theory.
I mean, even there's a lot of people that, did that. Well, Chuck put some in Aaron's parking lot. And then you end up with holes.
We used it on township, I remember. We had to go boulders too. That was the worst part of that. It was fairly effective. Remember we, at Brian's house, or where he lived there, we had some terrible fun.
I can't read lips. What'd you say?
Swatting at flies or what?
No, we interrupt.
It's all right.
No, just,
Come in.
and if you have time, I'll talk to you about pebbles type stuff.
Okay.
And your other
Yeah.
rule.
Because of it.
I gotta go over there anyway to get a key.
Okay, thanks.
No, the north-south road going into Seward really, I think did some good there.
No, we went
And
up-
it held up pretty well during harvest.
We went up and drug it the other day, there was a lot of loose material on it. It tends
You
to
just need some moisture.
Yeah,
I
but I
understand.
mean, it tends to make it washboard, so we drug the loose stuff off and.
But the
to edge and
east-west
everything's
one,
wet.
it just, I don't know what, you're gonna have to get some.
We've got some
material.
more, we're not done up there, we've got some more work, but it's time for asphalt work and so this
Yeah,
fall.
okay, well, all right, I'll explain that.
And a lot of it's primarily on that west end, or east end, excuse me. Because I
There's
didn't-
no base, there's just,
Yeah,
it's always been that way.
but at least there's some ditches down that we don't have.
Yes, and
We
I
don't
think
have,
everybody
we don't have a
appreciates,
silo when it does rain.
appreciates your
We're-
efforts,
we
yes.
don't- At least we're not hoarding water in the road. Well, that's what it did when it rained before.
Yeah, no, I think your efforts are appreciated, just, don't stop, I guess.
Oh, it's a dirt road, it's a constant maintenance. And anytime you don't want them anymore, you quit doing maintenance, and then it don't take long before people notice in a hurry.
Even with the maintenance.
Yeah.
but, you know.
Especially when.
But it's a situation where if you improve the road, the traffic's gonna increase dramatically. And
Oh, yeah.
I even noticed it during harvest, just the fact that road was halfway decent. And the bigger the trucks are, the more that's true, because they will go an extra mile just to have to travel, be able to travel a decent road. They won't come down 281 and K-90 and save their lives. Just don't get it. It's too far out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. I don't have any.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
I would like 15 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel, please.
I make a motion, we go into executive session to discuss the non-elected personnel for 15 minutes.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, we go into executive session for 15 minutes for non-elected personnel. All in favor, say aye. Motion carried. I don't have. All right, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.